The reservation was for 7:30 p.m. at Celestial, the most exclusive restaurant in the city, where platinum credit cards barely secured tables and the wine list alone could make a man weep. Alexander Hartwell sat rigidly in the private dining room, his tailored Armani suit perfectly pressed, his silver cufflinks gleaming under the warm glow of the chandelier overhead. He had not smiled in 3 years. His assistant had once timed it and reported back to her staff that their CEO's face had become a permanent mask of controlled indifference. This blind date, orchestrated by his meddling sister who believed that his empire of commercial real estate and investment portfolios was somehow incomplete, without romantic companionship, was merely another task to check off his calendar, another obligation to fulfill before returning to his penthouse where silence was his only companion. The woman was 45 minutes late. Alexander checked his phone, a slim titanium device that displayed stock prices, contract negotiations, and now absence. The restaurant manager approached 3 times, each visit more apologetic than the last. She was not coming. Of course she was not coming. Why would a woman of any substance agree to spend an evening with a man whose reputation preceded him like a cold shadow? The headlines had called him the stone-hearted titan of commerce, a man who had fired an employee for taking a sick day, who had orchestrated buyouts that destroyed family businesses, who had amassed a fortune by understanding one simple truth. Sentiment was a luxury only poor people could afford. Just as Alexander signaled the manager to cancel the order, the restaurant door burst open with a collision of sound and chaos. A young woman, no more than 24 or 25, stumbled into the dining room, her breath coming in gasps, her dark hair falling from a hasty bun. Her dress was worn at the seams, clearly vintage or second-hand. But she had tried. There were runs in her stockings where she had attempted to mend them with clear nail polish. Her shoes were mismatched. She realized this too late and let out a sound somewhere between a laugh and a cry of frustration. She saw the table set for 2, the empty chair, and Alexander Hartwell's cold, scrutinizing gaze, and she froze. I'm so sorry, she gasped, her voice trembling. I thought this was where they said to meet. The manager downstairs, he said private dining room number 7, and I was so nervous I could barely remember my own name, and oh God, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize anyone was here. I'll just go. But as she turned to leave, she stumbled on the hem of her dress, and something fell from her worn purse onto the marble floor. A small leather journal, its pages water-stained and precious, skidded across the tiles. Alexander, moved by something he could not name and had not felt in years, bent to pick it up. If you believe in the power of kindness and second chances, if you think that humanity can change even the coldest hearts, I want to see you like this video, subscribe to our channel, and share this story with someone you love. Let's build a community that believes in hope and redemption. Don't forget to enable notifications so you never miss a story like this again. When he handed her the journal, their fingers touched for just a moment, and in that instant, something shifted in the universe, though neither of them knew it yet. Alexander noticed that her hands were calloused, that her nails were broken from hard work, that despite her embarrassment, her eyes held a light that reminded him of something he used to know, something he used to be before success had calcified his soul. Wait, he heard himself say, the word foreign and clumsy on his lips. Who are you meeting? She looked at him with confusion and then with the kind of sad smile that comes from being perpetually disappointed by life. My friend Maya set me up. She works here as a server during her nursing program, and she said a man named Alexander had requested a blind date. Very important man, she said. Very successful. But apparently he decided not to show up for a girl like me. She glanced down at her mismatched shoes with a self-deprecating laugh. Can't blame him, really. Alexander felt something crumble inside his chest, a sensation so foreign that for a moment he thought he was experiencing a cardiac event. This was his blind date? This girl with the worn dress and the precious journal and the light in her eyes? His sister had sent him a photograph weeks ago, but he had deleted it without looking. He had not wanted to know. He had not wanted to care. My name is Alexander, he said slowly, and as the words left his mouth, he realized he was about to do something unprecedented in his adult life. He was about to be honest. And I am the man you were supposed to meet. But before you judge me for even considering a first impression, I would like to invite you to sit. Not because I am interested in a romantic connection, I am incapable of such a thing, but because I am, for the first time in a very long time, interested in understanding a human being. She studied him with an intensity that made him feel exposed, like he was standing naked before her in the gleaming restaurant. Then slowly she sat down. Her name was Sophia. She was a barista by day and a writer by night, working toward her degree in literature while supporting her elderly mother, who had suffered a stroke 3 years ago. She lived in a studio apartment in the poorest neighborhood of the city, where gunshots punctuated the silence of certain nights, where the landlord was a criminal and the heating system worked only in spring. She had applied to this expensive restaurant's private dining room reservation program, thinking it was her last chance at something, thinking that one perfect evening might give her the courage to continue writing, to continue believing that her dreams were not delusional. They talked through the entire evening. Alexander ordered food which they barely touched. Sophia told him about her writing, her dreams of publishing a novel that would matter, that would make someone feel less alone in the world. Alexander listened, truly listened, for what he would later realize was the first time in his career. She asked him about his life, and he found himself describing not his accomplishments, but his loneliness, the hollow victory of each acquisition, the way his penthouse felt like a mausoleum of his own making. As the night deepened, Alexander realized that Sophia was not impressed by him. She did not care about his money or his reputation. When he mentioned his net worth, she had simply nodded and asked what happiness tasted like to him if he could remember. No one had asked him that in 20 years. When midnight approached and the evening drew to a close, Alexander did something he could not explain. He asked Sophia if she would be willing to meet him again, not for a romantic dinner, but for coffee at her favorite cafe. She agreed, though her face showed skepticism. Men like him did not visit poor neighborhoods. Men like him did not associate with women like her. They existed in different worlds, separated not just by miles, but by every conceivable measure of worth and value. Over the following weeks, Alexander began to visit that small cafe tucked between a laundromat and a shuttered bookstore. He came in his business suits at first, drawing curious and mocking glances, but gradually he came in simple clothes, trying to understand the world Sophia inhabited. He met her mother, a gentlewoman whose mind wandered but whose love for her daughter was absolute. He worked with Sophia to hire a better caregiver using his connections, not his money, but his influence, to secure resources that had been invisible to him before, though visible to her in their cruelty. Over these weeks, something inside Alexander began to thaw like spring ice. He started to understand that his coldness had been a defense mechanism, a way of protecting himself from the vulnerability that connection required. Sophia, without ever pointing it out, simply lived differently. She gave generously, though she had nothing. She loved fiercely, though she had been disappointed countless times. She wrote stories about redemption and second chances, and slowly Alexander realized that she had been writing about him before they ever met. 3 months after that fateful evening, Alexander made a decision that shattered his board of directors and shocked the financial world. He donated half of his wealth to charitable foundations dedicated to literacy programs, housing assistance, and medical support for families in poverty. He kept enough to live comfortably and to help Sophia's mother. But more importantly, he started to live. He attended Sophia's literature classes and finally read her manuscript, and when he finished, he wept for the first time since childhood. Her novel was about a man who had lost his way in the pursuit of wealth, and a woman who showed him that true richness lay not in possession, but in presence. By the end of that year, Sophia's novel was published by a major house. It became a bestseller, praised for its emotional honesty and its portrayal of transformation. Alexander's story, the cold CEO who had learned to feel, was captured in those pages, fictionalized but true in every way that mattered. He had found something that no acquisition could ever bring. He had found purpose, connection, and the kind of love that changes you at the cellular level. Not the romantic kind, but something deeper. the love of being truly seen and seen truly. Sophia still works at the cafe sometimes, though she does not have to. They live in her mother's apartment now, and they are renovating the units around them for families in need. Alexander's penthouse is empty. His old assistant, finally allowed to take a day off without guilt, now runs a non-profit in his name. The man who once measured his worth in dollars has learned to measure it in moments. In laughter, in the way Sophia's eyes light up when she talks about her writing, in the strength of her mother's hug. If this story touched your heart, if you felt even a flicker of hope for redemption and transformation, I am asking you with all sincerity to engage with this video. Leave a comment below. Tell me about a moment when kindness changed someone's life. Tell me about your own second chance. Tell me what true richness means to you. Like this video if you believe that people can change. Share it with someone who needs to remember that the coldest hearts can still learn to feel again. And subscribe so you never miss a story that reminds us what it means to be human. In the comments section below, I would love to hear from you. What did this story make you feel? Have you ever met someone who changed your life by simply believing in your worth? Please share your story with our community. The blind date that was supposed to be empty became the fullest moment of Alexander Hartwell's life. A poor girl sat down by mistake and showed a cold CEO that the greatest luxury of all is knowing that you matter to someone and that their mattering to you is the truest wealth there is.